not everybody needs to be rich. It drives me crazy when I hear people talk about make your kids rich.
Right.
Make your kids financially stable, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the goal, because we're a lot of us are running ourselves into the ground trying to make our kids rich, and because of that, we lack presence in their lives, and because we're not in their lives, we're not instilling our values. Like somebody else is doing this for us. And so there's a disconnect between, our kids, their values, and ours, because we're running ourselves ragged trying to make them rich. And so if we spend more time giving them a good quality life,
Yeah.
where they get a good amount of connection with us and we get to share our views, then I think that that's really the key to generational wealth, right? I tell people all the
Yeah.
time.
Malik's First Job Podcast, here to answer any questions that y'all ask. Financial literacy and resources, parents and young people becoming bosses, CEOs, future leaders, entrepreneurs, conferences and boardrooms getting sponsors secured. If you want generational wealth, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip with information to help. Malik's First Job Podcast, Malik's Podcast, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip, Kerwin Phillip. Malik's First Job Podcast, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Generational wealth.
Greetings. How you doing today? Welcome to another episode of the Malik's First Job Podcast, where we discuss leadership, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy for parents and teens. Today, we have a great guest, Miss Ebony Beckford of FinLit Kids Box. We're going to talk about financial literacy for kids, and things parents can do, to help raise financially literate children. So before we begin, let me just read her bio for those that don't know Ebony. Ebony Beckford is an author, entrepreneur, and financial literacy advocate committed to closing the wealth gap in America. Ebony's work is guided by the notion that early financial education is a key component to achieving financial independence, as well as building economically prosperous communities of color. In 2020, she released her best-selling children's book, Madison's First Dollar, which led to her starting FinLit Kids, a multimedia company that empowers adults to teach basic financial concepts to kids 3 to 7 through fun and engaging games, books, activities, and content. Ebony's work has been featured on NBC News in New York, Essence.com, and multiple other blogs. She has recently been awarded $10,000 from UPS Ignite and Accion Opportunity Fund to grow her business. She holds a bachelor's degree in communication arts from St. John's University and spent the last 9 years of her corporate career working as as a real estate tech executive. So let's go ahead and welcome Ebony to the Malik's First Job Podcast.
Wow, this girl Ebony sounds pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah. You've done a lot. So we met last year at InvestFest. Right? Yes, the platform that was started by Ernie Leisure, the great convention. What's your thoughts about InvestFest?
I thought it was a great event. I had the opportunity. It was actually my first large event, and I was actually in the process of revealing my new brand, because I decided to rebrand, because when I first started, I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a clear thought about what I wanted things to be visually. And so I had the opportunity to reveal the new look and feel of FinLit Kids. And I was actually overwhelmed by the feedback that I got. I met a lot of people, including yourself, who came up to my booth and shared some incredibly emotional stories about their journey through life, struggling with money. And I was with the biggest takeaway from that event for me was that, like, I was mainly targeting moms, because moms are the ones who spend money in the household, but it was the men who really were impacted the most by the lack of financial literacy. They were the ones who were sharing stories and saying, like, I'm told I'm supposed to be a provider, but I'm not given the tools and the skills
Right.
to provide for my family. And so the men that were at the Invest Fest, they were
Yeah.
just buying up the whole table. And I was like, they didn't even care. They didn't even let me tell them what it was about. It just
Right.
was financial literacy. And so that really struck out
Yeah.
to me. And it actually made me go back to the drawing board and incorporate more things that my husband does with my daughter into the brand. And
Yeah.
so I have an animated music series that I'm going to be releasing, and my husband
Okay.
plays a big role in that. You'll see him interacting with my daughter because
Right.
I really was blown away by the response I got from the men at InvestFest.
Yeah. That kind of makes me think back, because like my early adult years, I didn't really manage money the best,
No, no,
right? A
no.
lot of things, 'cause I didn't really, the information like my parents had didn't trickle down to me,
Right.
so I learned like, the hard way,
Yeah.
right? So through trial and error, and it took me years to, figure out, okay, this is what you're doing incorrectly. Now it's time to change it, you know?
Right. 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 And not only change it for yourself, but change it for your children. Because I think
Right.
that, like, I was talking to one of the moms yesterday from the event that I was doing, and
Hmm.
we were talking about how, we are, especially when you're trying to do more than what your parents did, you're
Right.
caught in survival mode. You're just working, 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 and you're not thinking about um, the impact of, like, your presence on your children, right? And most
Hmm.
people, when they think about teaching their kids about money, they think it's like something that's complex, right? Like, we're teaching them about stocks. No, we're just laying the foundation, right? Basic
Right.
counting skills, right? One plus one is two. $1, showing them dollar bills, showing them coins, teaching them how to add and subtract.
Hmm.
Um, these are the basic things that lay the foundation for people to actually become investors and to understand stocks and to understand how to really successfully manage their money. And not everybody needs to be rich. It drives me crazy when I hear people talk about make your kids rich.
Right.
Make your kids financially stable, please.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that's the goal, because we're a lot of us are running ourselves into the ground trying to make our kids rich, and
Hmm.
because of that, we lack presence in their lives. And because we're not in their lives, we're not instilling our values. Like, somebody else is doing this
Hmm.
for us. And so there's a disconnect between, our kids, their values, and ours, because we're running ourselves ragged trying to make them rich. And so if we
Hmm.
spend more time giving them a good quality life,
Yeah.
where they get a good amount of connection with us and we get to share our views, then I think that that's really the key to generational wealth, right? I tell people all the
Yeah.
time, you see it all over the internet. If you want to make your kid a millionaire, do this, but no one ever
Right.
says, no one mentions financial literacy. No
Right.
one says, step one, teach your kids how to manage the money that you're going to pass on to them, right?
Right. Right.
And so it's just it's a shame that that's where we are as a culture. But I think the work that you and I are doing, along with our other peers in this group, is going to
Yeah.
bring light to that. And not shaming or shading anyone for
Right.
being ambitious. I'm super ambitious too, but just
Mhm.
really wanting to level set and make people understand that, like, financial stability is the goal in, instilling values. Your kids will
Mhm.
get to where they need to be if you just lay
Right.
that foundation.
Exactly. Exactly. Last year I did an event with Wallow, and we was having a conversation, and he was saying, people are talking about Bitcoin and investing here, and doing all this other stuff, and yet they don't have like the basic knowledge or understanding of how money works.
Right.
You can't be talking about all this stuff that's going on like in the universe, but you don't have your foundation down, because the same bad habits you'll have with the US dollar, you'll use those same bad habits in Bitcoin,
Yep.
you know, and all
Exactly.
this other stuff, so
Yep. Yep. I saw a post where someone was talking about why they don't invest in Bitcoin, because there's like,
mhm.
Bitcoin is a currency. You don't invest in a dollar. Why
Right.
would you invest in a currency? And I was like, I don't know how many people think of that, right?
Hmm.
But to your point, it's behaviors and habits.
Right.
right? That's that's the thing that we don't talk about enough either. We talk about bad habits. Oh, you don't have bad spending habits, but we don't really educate people on how these things are formed, right?
Right.
And that's the reason why I focus on kids ages 3 to 7, because
Yeah.
there's research that shows that this is the age that we begin to recognize that money has value, and
Hmm.
b that's when our habits really get set in, because at this age, this is when a kid's brain is growing faster than any other period in their life. And they're learning from observing the adults in their lives. So when parents
Right.
tell me, nobody taught me about money, I'm like, are you sure? I was like, what type of spender are you? Oh, you're an emotional spender. Was your mom an emotional spender? Yeah. Oh, so you learned about money. You just didn't get a formal financial education, and you didn't develop positive habits, but you learned about money. And that's the thing that I try to drive home with parents, that
Yeah.
even if you're broke, you don't have to have any money in the bank to teach your kids the value of money. And there's simple tools that I use with my daughter that have really worked for me, and I didn't realize not everybody thought like this and
Right.
was doing these things, but literally taking her to the store, and Mommy, I want a mini brands. Okay, how much does the mini brands cost? 9.99. Okay, how much money do you have? I have $20. Is $20 more or less than 9.99?
Right.
It's more. Okay, so you can afford it, right? And Madison is 3.5. So people think, oh, 3-year-olds don't understand this stuff. She understands that 20 is more than 9.99 because we count with her all
Right.
the time, you know? And so it's these small things that make a huge difference in a child's learning and their development. And you'll see, if you follow me on Instagram, I started recording
Hmm.
Madison in the things that she's doing with money without us telling her to do it. And so it is possible to raise financially stable kids, even if you're not in the best financial situation, just by being intentional about learning and talking to them about these things.
Yeah. I hear that a lot, from parents. Is like, how can I teach my children, good money habits when I don't have the good money habits myself, or I'm not,
Right.
I don't have the money to save and I'm living check to check,
Right.
so, what you just said is, it's simple,
Simple.
and practical, which is thinking outside the box as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I had to learn to appreciate about the work that I'm doing, because when I started this journey, I
Hmm.
I wasn't I still have bad spending habits, right?
Right.
I wasn't as conscious as I am now. But
Hmm.
what happened was, when I got pregnant with my daughter, I started having panic attacks because I kept thinking about what happens if I passed away.
Hmm.
'Cause my mom died when I was 18. And
Hmm.
so it triggered that while I was carrying my daughter. And I was like, wow, I was completely irrational, because I'm like, we don't have generational wealth. And I'm like, we do. We set stuff up for her. She has grandparents. We have, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
My husband and I have life insurance. We're putting things in place for her. But in my mind, I was all over the
Right.
place. And I just panicked, and I was like, how am I going to teach my child,
Hmm.
these lessons, right? Because for me, that was the hardest thing when my mom passed away, really was trying to deal with the fact that I just lost my foundation, right?
Right.
Everything, she was everything to me, obviously. And then now I have to survive, right? And I had
Right.
negative $200 in a bank account at the time
Mhm.
that she passed away. So I
Okay.
was making a point, but I forgot it. But that happens often. So
Right. Right. What we were talking about just made me slip my mind as well.
we talk
All right.
about everything.
All right. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. But yeah. So you speak about generational wealth, and this is a conversation I have with people all the time. Is that people like generational wealth right now is like a hot topic, all over social media, right? Yeah, we got to build generational wealth. We got to do this. We got to do that. Wealth building. Just throw the terms out there, and I tell people, yeah, we're talking about it, but what can we do? What concrete steps can we take, right, to help build real generational wealth within our families?
Right. And so first and foremost, I kind of stop saying building generational wealth and I say
Hmm.
restoring generational wealth.
Okay.
Because for me, building implies that we come from nothing. And the truth is that we have a rich culture. We come from immense wealth as people. We have resources within our community that we can lean into to really
Right.
do the work and build. But
Yeah.
but when you think that you come from nothing and someone took everything from you, then that's going to make you in many ways develop a scarcity mindset, right, and work like crazy because of that. And so what you're doing is getting stuck inside of the same cycle of poverty because of that fear. So I think the first step is changing the way you think about things and really sitting
Mm.
back and reflecting on who you are. What are your family values? How do you make money a core family value, right?
Right.
Having conversations with your kids about money openly, right? And you don't
Mhm.
have to discuss your personal story, but asking them, like, how do you feel about money, right? And I
Right.
bet you if you ask your kid how they feel about money, it'll
Mm.
mirror how you feel about it, right? Because it's
Right.
based on how
What
you
they see.
how you are your emotions and your feelings that you're putting out there. And so I think the first thing, like I said, starting off by changing your mindset and realizing that you come from something, right? You're
Right.
great. And because you come from something, you have something you can lean on, you can draw on, you can build on. Then open dialogue, right? Being open
Mhm.
and honest and feeling safe and creating
Okay.
safe spaces for the people around you because we're all in this together, especially as people of color, where many of us are first generational wealth builders, and so we're not we're not as stable. We're fluctuating, right? And so I can
Right.
have $100,000 job this year, but if something goes wrong in the economy, I'm the first one to lose my job, right? And so we
True.
need to stop valuing and validating each other according to our wealth and really lean into supporting each other.
Right.
And then on top of that, really start focusing on the kids and not just focusing on the kids and teaching them about money, but also the people that we have around them because they're observing everyone who's in that village. And so
Yeah.
having a conversation with the village, like this is something that I'm prioritizing from my child. Everyone knows Madison is about money, right? And so
Right.
so making sure that when you're in her presence, don't just give her like a gift, right?
Hmm.
Talk to her about this gift. Explain to her
Right.
why she's getting it. Make her ask her, does she have money? Even if you're giving her something, make it transactional in some ways. And I'm not saying don't give my daughter gifts. You could give my daughter gifts, but
Right.
but don't just give to her without making her really understand like that this gift is a blessing and that what her responsibilities are as being a person inside of this village when it comes to money and things like that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
I think once you start educating the kids and believe it or not, it will take some of the pressure off of you as a parent because when
Right.
they understand money, where it comes from, how hard you're working, they see us tired, right?
Right.
Then it'll build their empathy and their compassion for us. It'll make them want to earn money, right? Like Madison is
Right.
all about baking some cookies or or making some ice cream, right?
Right.
Those type of things, you know, if we do those things with our kids, I think that we'll be surprised by how much it changes things. When I take Madison to the store, I talk to her. I don't say budget. I say we're planning because she's 3. Budget's
Right.
a big concept, but
Right.
we have to make a plan. So if we go to the store and we didn't make a plan to buy Madison something, then we when we go in the store, she sees something. I say, "Well,
Hmm.
Maddie, we didn't plan for this. So what we can do is we can window shop. We can look at the prices. We can see what we want. If they have something we want, figure out the prices and go home and create a plan for it." And what
Right.
my husband and I have been intentional about doing is once we make that commitment that we're going to make a plan for something, we follow through. So we will take her to Target. We'll make a Target day. Girl loves Target. we got to get a Target ad because we love Target. Okay. Target sponsor us. But we'll take her. We have a designated date to go to Target, right, and to get what she wants, and we give her $20 because Madison's expensive with her little mini brand dolls. But we give her $20, and she can't go beyond it, right? And so if it's $20.59, Maddie, we got to go back to the drawing board, and we're doing that at 3, and we're seeing the results. And so I don't have tantrums when I have no. I make it the fake ugly cry face from the disappointment.
Right.
But I'm not getting like a full blown out tantrum because she's understanding, like she understands that she also trusts that we will deliver on our promise. She just has to delay her gratification.
Peace. Are you looking for a way to teach your kids about money management and responsibility? Look no further than the Green Light Card. The Green Light Card is a debit card for kids that parents can manage through an app, giving you complete control over where and how much your child spends. With the Green Light Card, you can start teaching your kids valuable financial lessons while earning rewards at the same time. For more information about Green Light and to get started, please click the link in the show notes below. Thank you. Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens, is an excellent resource to get your children started on understanding the basics of financial literacy. This book, which is set in Brownsville, Brooklyn, about a young man who gets his first job and then shortly thereafter sits down with his dad to learn how to manage his money. There are several topics that are covered within this work, such as paying yourself first, disciplining your spending, knowing the difference between an asset and a liability, creating multiple sources of income, as well as the importance of being charitable. So again, if you want to get your children started on understanding finance and becoming responsible adults, we highly recommend that you purchase the book, Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens. So please visit maliksfirstjob.com to get more information. Peace. I was just about to say that. So that's a great way to teach, delayed gratification. Whereas, you don't want, expecting things right now. So sometimes you got to wait.
Right. Right.
And there's also value in waiting, right? I'm sure when she says, you know what, I may not get it today, but if I'm patient, I'll eventually get it.
Patient is the word that we use. I never say wait. I always say, Maddie, can we be more patient? Can we be patient? And the thing that I didn't realize I was doing until I did it, and I was like, wow, was delayed gratification. What I started doing with Madison is she loves chocolate.
Okay.
You give my girl a peanut butter cup, you her best friend. And what I did was I was like, if she wants chocolate in the morning, so what? I got like a Instagram story where she woke up and I was like, what do you want for breakfast? She's like, chocolate. And so she loves chocolate. So the deal that we made is that she can have chocolate after she eats her oats. I started this when she was 2. She eats her oats every day. And now we've gotten to the place and that point in her maturity where if we run out of chocolate, I can say, well, Maddie, we don't have chocolates, but you still have to eat your oats. And she'll still eat her oats. And so it's not something where, I'm bribing her. But she's now in the habit of eating oats. So this is just breakfast to her now. And the chocolate is the treat, right? And so now we're at the point where we buy a set amount of chocolate, Trader Joe's chocolate. We should get an ad with them too, right? And we count out the pieces we have in the pack, and we figure out how much, if she has enough for the week. And during the week, she usually gets 2 chocolates, but she may ask for 3, right? Okay. If you ask for 3, are you going to have enough for the full week? And so now there's negotiation going, and there's planning and things like that. With chocolate and not even money, but it's developing and building those skills and helping her delay gratification to the point now that she will save so she'll have enough for tomorrow. And it really, it blows my mind. So I'm excited to be out here telling parents about it.
I was thinking that's again another way of budgeting, right? Because you have a set amount for the week. if you tap in a little early, that's going to take away from what you have later on. So you got to
Yeah.
factor all that stuff in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 And you'll be amazed by how much kids actually know, and we as parents don't give them credit.
right.
I don't know where it comes from, where we think that they don't understand because they
Mm.
understand.
Yeah, yeah. As I'm thinking, that could be another product as well, like another book, right? As far as like ways that you taught your daughter, you know, different financial habits or different the
Right.
mindset, right?
Right. Right.
Just practical ways like going to the store and use that example with the breakfast and things of that sort. That could be a whole nother book or guide for parents, and it could
Right.
be called Think Outside the Box. You have the financial literacy box. Now think outside the box. So this
Look at you about to get credit. You about to
that's
get
also
credit
that's put my name at the bottom of the on the inside credits on that one.
for that one. You will get credit for that. Because it's funny you said that, because I do have a moms group that I'm currently building called
Hmm.
Prosperity Mamas. I'm
Right.
focusing on women who are doing the work to build prosperous communities of color, right? And these are women who are in the conscious parenting space, who are in the food growing space, who are in financial literacy, who are teachers and things like that, who are really doing the work to kind of lift up the
Hmm.
community, and are looking for support and connection. And so I think we got to think outside the box.
Like
Is
to be
Yeah.
Finlit kids outside the box.
Right, right. I like that. Look at that. You will get
Yes.
credits.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Cool. So, what has been like the response that you've received from children and as well as parents
Right.
from your products as well?
I've received a huge response, and it is blowing my mind. I've gotten, first off, the kids. I did my first in-person reading like shortly after COVID, and I didn't
Mhm.
know what to expect.
Right.
I call myself an accidental author. I didn't sit down and say I want to be an author. I did this
Right.
out of my desire to educate my daughter, and so I didn't know the book was good. And I
Right.
had I sent it to Kirkus Reviews to get it
Mhm.
reviewed, and they reviewed it and gave me a positive review. I
Right.
had so many people, like, when I first published the book, I'm self-published author. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing at the time.
Right.
I didn't expect anything. Put it on my Instagram page, and the thing, like, in like 24 hours sold 200 books, right? And
Wow.
they say most self-published authors do about 300 books in the lifetime of the book. And so I
Mhm.
was like, what's happening? It
Yeah.
scared me because I was
You did
like,
that in one day, right?
yeah, it scared me. And I went to the bestseller list, like the on
Mhm.
Amazon, and I was like, what is happening here?
Right.
And so what happened to me was parents started to call me, people that I knew that were high achieving,
Hmm.
doing well, and they started to tell me how they were living check to check, even though they
Yeah.
were making money, and how nobody ever taught them about money. And so I was just like in my head, like, what is it about this book that is resonating with people? And then when I went to read with a group of kids through a partnership that I have with an organization called sweetreads.org,
Hmm.
um, um, Tamiko Hubbard, she's awesome. You should get with her. She's building
Okay.
libraries in underserved communities, like not like the full buildings, but like
Right.
small personal libraries. But
Hmm.
when I went to an event with her and I read to the kids, they were asking so many questions, and I was
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, like, this is the reason why this book is good, is because it has open-ended questions. And so Madison just got her first dollar, and she's thinking about how she wants to spend it. What do you think she should do with it? And then it's like, should she ask her mommy to take her to the store? Like, asking these questions, they started responding. They started answering me. They started asking questions. What's investing? And I was
Right.
sitting there like, oh Lord, please let me find the words to explain this
Right.
correctly to these
Right.
kids. But they really, really responded well to it. and they also had the opportunity to express how they felt about money, right? And why they
Okay.
felt that way. And I had the opportunity to tell them that, you know, money doesn't validate them, or,
Right.
it's not their value, right? It doesn't determine
Mhm.
their personal value. It's a tool that they use to buy the resources that they need. And that hit me different when
Yeah.
I was dealing with the kids. I did have a
Mhm.
virtual reading before that,
Mhm.
at a preschool,
Yeah.
but being in person with the kids,
Right.
it
It's
it was
different.
totally different.
Different. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So it's been good.
All right.
And I have my second book. My second book is being released on April 18th. That's the date that I'm setting, Madison's First Budget.
Okay.
Um, And now I'm waiting to see what the response is going to be for that one. And this one is emotional for me
Okay.
because it's first and foremost, it's dedicated to my mom and her
Okay.
legacy. And it features my daughter and her cousins,
Okay.
Sadie and EJ,
Mhm.
who are my mother's legacy. And so I was
Mhm.
really intentional about this book with the illustrations and the message that I wanted to get across. And so
Mhm.
if they don't buy my book this time, I'll be like, now
Yes.
I'll be emotional, I'll be mad.
It's gonna do well. It's gonna do well.
I think
I
it'll
know
do
it
well.
will.
I think it's same thing with you. Like, it's not easy to make this type of content, right?
Right.
Because it's not fun, it's not sexy. It's
Right.
some parents feel lectured, right? And things like that. But it's
Yeah.
necessary, and the people who need it will find it. And so the
Yes.
goal is, it's not about selling books. I drive my husband crazy when I say that. It's not. It's not about selling books. It's about the
Mm.
impact that
Yeah.
we make through the work that we're doing. Like, we're literally in here rolling up our sleeves trying to make sure that our kids get the foundational information
Right.
that they need. Because you think about it, if you don't know how to read and write and do
Mhm.
math, right, that has a
Right.
significant impact on your life. But you still can manage your money,
Right.
right? You think about
Exactly.
people who come to this country who can't speak English, but they can manage their money, right? And so,
Right.
and it makes a big difference on not only on their lives, but on generations. And so it's really trying to make people understand that,
Yeah.
right? Like, determining what we need versus what we want. And I don't think people realize that. I don't think people
Yeah.
know what they need to live in a peaceful state. And I
Yeah.
think that's the conversation that we need to be having, and giving parents some grace, because you
Mhm.
out here doing the most when you are already the best.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Wow.
you don't have to do all that. You're already the best. So
That's I like that. I like that. You know,
yeah,
you're out here doing the most when you're already the best.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
you need to put it on the shirt.
Say that again.
You need to put it on a t-shirt or
You need to
something.
put on a shirt. Okay, I'm like,
Yeah.
there we go. We got another eye. Okay, I'm doing it. My friend is always telling me that I need to make shirts with some of my quotes on it too. So
Hmm.
they
Yeah,
said
and
you
just brand it. Just brand it as you know, under the Finlet Kid
brand.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting better at that. Getting better at
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So tell me about the journey of being like a self-published author. How's that been for you so far?
It's been wonderful. So when I started out, it's actually been, I'm really blessed. I don't think everyone has my experience, but I
Okay.
found a self-publishing group. I think it's
Okay.
Six Figures Self-Publishing with Crystal Swain Bates.
Okay.
And that was early on when she created the group. So she was trying to figure out what her group and her classes would look like. And so we had a lot of direct contact with her. And I also hired her to help me, to be like my
Yeah.
self-publishing assistant. And so the thing that I didn't realize when I wrote the book was that, like, I have to do the art direction too. I
Hmm.
thought I was going to hand these words to this illustrator and they
Right.
would use their imagination to create something. And so having to do the art direction it's been incredibly rewarding for me.
Yeah.
Um, in a way that I never expected. I'm not a person who considers themselves to be naturally creative, But this has taken me to a place of like being a kid again and thinking with my imagination, what do I want this to look like? What do these words mean to me? What does it
Mm-hmm.
make me feel and see and things like that? And so
Right.
it's been a great exercise of discovering like who I am and how I feel. But
Yeah.
working with Crystal, she did most of the upfront work on my book, and held my hand all the way to the release date. But I
Okay.
had to learn how to promote it. Instagram is not my jam. Showing people everything I'm doing in life, I'm like, why? I'm not even a
Yeah.
person. And so I had to go into therapy
Wow.
to get to where I'm at now. So I started therapy, um, mainly because I became a mom and COVID is happening and all of these other things. But in therapy, I found myself talking about social media and
Okay.
what was holding me back. And it really made me dig deeper into some of the trauma I
Yeah.
experienced and the spaces and places within my soul that had to be healed. And
Right.
so if you followed my journey, like when you met me last year, but before that, whoever was there from the beginning, you
Yeah.
see the change, the transformation of the brand, um, transformation of me showing up a little bit more, saying hi
Mm-hmm.
here and there. But it took a lot of work for me to get there. And so I from working with Crystal, I learned the self-publishing process, KDP,
Right.
Canva, using Canva to format my book and edit, how to create a book cover, which drives me crazy. Uh,
Right.
um, but it also gave me a great sense of pride, but also freedom because I'm an independent author, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I have control over my story. I have control of the shelf life of my story. And also, like, I own my illustrations, I own my characters. And when I decided to rebrand, I redid the illustrations in the book. And now the way the book looks now, I'm like, y'all can't tell me nothing. I'm like an author. where
Right.
where the first version, I was just trying to figure it out, and it was
Mm-hmm.
good. It's a great book. The illustrator I worked with, he was amazing, right? And
Right.
all the work Crystal did was amazing, but it wasn't because I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't really develop a vision. So this is most representative of my vision and what I want to give to the world and give to my daughter and in the legacy that I want to leave behind for her. And so it's been good
Yeah.
for me. I'm everyone tries to get me. I have thought about going with the publishing company here and
Right.
there because it helps validates you. It helps you get into libraries and certain bookstores and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, mm, I like having control over the story.
Yeah. But you can still get into like bookstores and libraries if you go through Ingram Spark.
Yeah. Yep.
Ingram Spark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm on Ingram, but there's still like the local bookstores and stuff like that. Some people they frown upon
Oh
self-published
yeah.
books. There was a nonprofit that I was trying to donate, and they were like, "We don't take books from nonprofit. I mean,
That's,
self-published. We don't take books from self-published authors." And I was like,
that's crazy.
"You don't want good content."
Right. Are you or your child interested in the performing arts? Let me introduce you to the ICANN Performing Arts Program. This program, founded by actor, director, writer, entrepreneur, and Philadelphia native Nakia Dillard, provides high-quality performing arts training to youth and adults in a safe, fun, friendly online environment. Since its inception in 2009, ICANN Performing Arts has reached over 1,000 students and workshop participants in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area alone. ICANN Performing Arts founder, Nakia Dillard, has worked alongside some of the most recognized and influential names in the industry, such as Bill Duke, Jamie Foxx, Anthony Mackie, Wendell Pierce, Kerry Washington, and other notable performers. He has appeared in The Wire, Black Lightning, Law Abiding Citizens, and the Wonder Years. For more information about the ICANN Performing Arts Program, please see the link in the show notes below. Thank you. That's
Because
crazy.
you know what they say, the reason why they don't teach this stuff is because they don't want you to know.
Right. Wow, how can a nonprofit turn down if you're about books?
Yeah, because they're big, so they get a ton of donations, so they do have like limits and guidelines, and I respect that. I totally respect it. It's just it's a different hustle, right?
Yeah,
But I appreciate it. You do the same work to market yourself, so it's not like you get with a publishing company and they do all of the marketing. No, they use their connections to get you PR and stuff like that, but you still do you do all the work promoting the book. So
yeah, exactly. And I did an interview with, I'm not sure if you know Barbito Garcia, from he had a radio show, a hip hop radio show back in the 90s. But he's pretty big in in the hip hop community, and he released a book not too long ago, and he said he goes through the same struggles, trying to get his book in the stores, and he's a celebrity. He's like, look, people know me, and I still have a hard time getting into certain bookstores and stuff like that. I'm like, wow. I told him, I said, a lot of people need to hear that, because as an independent author, you think you're on an island by yourself going through the same issues, but to realize that even a person of that stature is still having, the same problems and struggles, it's like, okay, well, I'm not alone in this journey. So
right. And as authors, we should support each other, promote each other's work. If you see it, promote it, because the way these algorithms are and everything else, they're designed to suppress people, some people, and uplift other people. So we have to take the extra initiative, and it doesn't take much to like repost something if you see it, and so we have to take ownership and take control of our community and what we want to see happen here, because how many years of fighting do we need to see that they're not gonna give us a lane? We have to create our lane, which we do all the time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm trying to do some author events, some cross collaboration.
Yeah. We're part of that group. I can't remember the exact name of the group, but it's a bunch of
financial authors. Yeah.
So
and
I think that's great.
The work that we're doing is important, and so we can't give up. So your second book, get that second book done. Because if we grow weary, then it's not going to get out there, like, because people are not thinking about kids. Even like, I think we're now at 21 states that require financial literacy curriculum to graduate high school. But I always tell people, I'm like, you have to catch them earlier, because high school, you're just really taking the test and trying to pass and get out, right? You have to continue to try to go earlier, younger and younger, and teaching them these core life skills that they need to be successful, so that it's now something that is subconscious and normal for them. And anything that they learn on top of that, it just makes sense. If you could teach kids about these brackets, these basketball brackets and stuff like that, then you can teach them how to buy stocks, because you need to know the same information, right? You need to know about the CEO of the company. You need to know about their assets, their liabilities, which is the team members and things like that. So you can teach them. It's just a matter of how we teach them and make it fun. Learning has to be fun. Like, I don't know why we have a school system where kids are sitting at a desk all day. They need to play. You need to make it fun for them and cultivate that love of learning through joy and connection and, curiosity, encouraging curiosity and things like that. And so
that's like a whole nother conversation about how the school system is structured, especially with kids, where they have to sit still the entire day, even in they're in class, they're in the cafeteria, they can't move around the cafeteria, you got to sit in your chair and eat. I'm like, I know when I was coming up, even in high school, we had some recreation time throughout the day, where we guys played basketball in the gym during lunch, all sweaty, and they went back to class, but still it was some time to get rid of that extra energy.
Right. Right.
We're not built to sit down and just be robots all day.
No. No, we're
So,
not. And so that's a whole nother conversation. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So for people that want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. I tell people is the best way to find me, at Finlit Kids Box, and on TikTok at Finlit Kids Box.
Okay.
And you also can find my website is www.finlitkidsbox. And I am excited to connect with as many people as possible, and to get feedback and any suggestions, and any opportunities to work together. I'm here for it. This is going to take a whole village to restore generational wealth to our community. So
yes. Again, the work that you're doing is very important. And again, I commend you. I guess that's like, oftentimes when we think about financial literacy, we think about the older kids and adults. We forget about the younger children, the younger demographic.
Yes.
And I think you really carved out a lane for yourself there, by reaching kids so young.
Can I show you my book? Because they got
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm so proud of it. This is Madison's First Dollar. Can you see it? Here we go. Madison's First Dollar. And Madison's First Budget will be out at the end of the month. But I'm so proud of this book now that I'll be showing it to everybody.
Great. Yes, ma'am. So anything that you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having me on your show and giving me an opportunity to speak about this very important topic that I hope that, every parent that hears this, you don't just listen and say that this is good. You say, you know what, let me get up and do something. Even if you don't have a kid that is young as that fits within my age group. Like you said, we have a whole group of financial literacy friends. So we have older kids, DM me and I'll make sure I send you some referrals. But I really just want all parents to really understand that, like, a lot of the issues that we are struggling with, mental health, racism, food insecurity, all of it is rooted in economics. And if we teach our kids how to really manage the resources that they have and also start earning young, right? I think that this could help, us stabilize things, because a lot of it is fear driven, out of a scarcity mindset. And so little kids can make money too. They can sell cookies and people buy expensive cookies for kids because they're cute. And so, so that's really all. I appreciate this. Thank you, Carl.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Malik's First Job Podcast. Definitely please reach out to Ebony, and if you don't have a child yourself, get the book for someone else. Get it for your neighbor, cousin, friend.
Aunties and uncles, come on now.
Hey, books make great gifts, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, everything. Right? So again, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you all next week. Peace.
Thank you.
Generational wealth.